Hey, Jerod, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thanks. I'm just wondering, I know you always expect your opponent's best, especially when you're going up against someone like Mahomes, but do you have to factor in this week when they're coming off two losses and they're obviously mad about Sunday's result that you're probably going to get as focused and driven a Patrick Mahomes as you've ever seen?
Honestly, we don't really get too concerned with stuff like that. We just know if we go out there and play well, that will give us a chance. So if those guys come off a loss or we're coming off a loss, it really doesn't matter. You have to battle complacency when you win a lot of games, and we just expect to get their best shot every time. An Andy Reid coach team and a Bill Belichick coach team go against each other.
Thanks.
And next question, Evan Lazar.
Hey, Jerod, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Evan. How are you?
I'm doing well. I wanted to ask you just about Anthony and just where you've seen, his biggest areas of growth, now going into some more playing time and things like that. And obviously been playing well for you guys. But where do you feel like, he's grown the most and what has impressed you the most about how he's played here the last couple months?
Yeah, one thing about Anthony, he's always been, a big physical kind of outside linebacker slash defensive end. He's always been very smart, right? Very smart. He has great awareness on the field. And I would say you started to see last year him kind of, starting to come on, and he's done a great job like keeping that momentum going. And he's been making a lot of plays for us. You always want to get those guys on the field, but very good player.
And I don't know if you know this, but like league-wide scoring is down, and there's been kind of like a resurgence of defense a little bit. For you defensive guys, like how nice is it that, in a league that last 5-10 years, it's been all offense, that you guys are starting to catch up a little bit?
I did not know that stat, but, I'm always going to root for the defense, for those guys to go out there and play well. I'd rather win, 3-0 than 48-49. But at the end of the day, a win is a win. I'm not sure what's causing that, but at the same time, I know we have a lot of good defensive minds in this league, and it's very cyclical. At some point in time, scoring points becomes a big deal.
Awesome, thank you.
Thanks, Evan.
Next question, Chris Ryan.
Hey, Jerod, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you, Chris?
Good. On Mahomes, in terms of his skill set, is he as good as anybody that's ever done it with his ability just to combine everything? In your view?
Yeah, honestly, I don't like to really compare quarterbacks, but I have a bias. I think Tom Brady is the best quarterback ever, and I'm always going to say that. But when you think about a guy who can make all the throws, that can extend plays with his legs, that can get the offense in the right play down after down after down. That's what Mahomes really brings to the table. I know a lot of people, they get enamored or they're fascinated by the no-look passes and things like that, but this is a very smart player, coached by, a very smart coaching staff. So it's definitely a challenge.
And you mentioned before matching up with Andy Reid. I mean, what does that bring? What does he do different than, other offensive coordinators in terms of creativity, scheme, perhaps a lack of consistency with both?
Yeah, anytime you go against an Andy Reid coach team, you have to expect the unexpected. You don't know what you're going to get, so you go in there with multiple plans and see how those kind of fit into the game. But he's a very creative coach. To your point, I think he's very creative, whether we're talking about with displacement of receivers or who's in the backfield or, who's really, getting the targets. He's very creative in that way. The motions, all that stuff kind of started with him.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next question, Taylor Kiles.
Hey, Coach, thank you so much for your time. I was going through the history of your guys' games against Mahomes and noticed you tend to play, obviously you are a man-heavy defense, but it seems like more man than usual. So I was wondering with the Mahomes and the chemistry he has with somebody like Travis Kelce, what makes it so tough to play zone against them when they have such great chemistry and, all the things that they both bring individually?
That's a great question, Taylor. I would say, when you look at Kelce, I'm just telling you, this guy is probably one of the best to ever find space in zones. Even though on a piece of paper it could say one thing, but once you cross the white line, it comes down to instincts and things like that. He has phenomenal instincts in zone. And I would also say man-to-man coverage against a guy like Kelce He's a tough, tough, savvy tight end who's done it for a long time. Always has been a huge challenge for us. And then when you have a quarterback like Mahomes and those guys are on the same page, once again, it's not on a piece of paper. Those guys have built this relationship over time, and you can definitely tell they're they're on the same page.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Next question, Bob Sosi.
Thanks, Steph. Hey, Jerod, good morning.
Good morning, Bob.
Hey, Jerod, I want to ask you, I know it's always a next man up mentality in the NFL, especially around New England. But you guys on defense have sustained some pretty significant losses this year to key players. There's no escaping that. Matthew, Christian being two examples. What is it about the current group of defenders that has enabled your defense to continually hang in there and kind of put up the performances you've done on a regular basis week after week?
No, that's a great question, Bob. I would say a lot of the guys on our team have chips on their shoulder. Even the guys you mentioned, the Gonzos, the Judons of the world, and they have a lot to prove. And I would say the standard around here has always been very high. Obviously, this is a disappointing season, but at the same time, those guys, they go out there and compete each and every down. They want to go out there and really represent not only the Patriots, but also the work that they put in the offseason. And I would also say, look, we talk about next man up. At the same time, we value versatility and value just overall understanding of football more than anything. And those guys have done a great job for us filling in those spots, and we'll see how it goes from here.
How does Anthony Jennings in his improvement this year kind of correspond with what you just said? I'm thinking of him as a guy that we didn't even see the first 2 weeks of the season, and early in his career was injury plagued.
Yeah, that's right. And when Anthony first got here, he was actually, kind of focusing on off the ball linebacker. And we had to, from a coaching perspective, get him in the right spot. We feel very good about the spot he's in now. But going back to versatility and he is a very, very smart player. Like, he's a very smart player. He understands coverages. He understands how the offense is trying to attack you. He's just an overall good player. And he's done a great job for us.
Thanks.
Very strong, good size, all that stuff. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
And we'll do two final questions here. First question from Chris Ryan.
Hey, Jerod, just on kind of some of the anxiety heading into the offseason. Obviously, there was kind of a fan, industry, media kind of feeling that you were next to be the Patriots coach whenever Bill were to step aside. How would you kind of categorize, your feelings about where things sit now? And also, was that expectation that was outside the organization your expectation as well?
Chris, you've been here long enough. I bet you can say the answer that I'm about to give you. We're 100% focused on the Chiefs. And, I only try to control the controllables, and that's out of my control. Hopefully, as you guys all know, one day I want to be a head coach. Where that is, I don't know. But at the same time, I would say I have a lot of love for New England. I have a lot of love for the fans, the people around the building. And, my family, they love it here as well. So that would be great if I could stay here and continue to progress throughout my career. But we'll see. And honestly, there's really no anxiety to it. Whatever, I'm not trying to get too spiritual, but wherever God wants to take me, I'll be ready to go.
Thank you, Jerod.
Thanks, Chris.
And final question from Mike Giardi.
Hello, Jerod.
All right, let me see that room. Oh, fantastic.
Well,
Fantastic.
Now I'm in my son's room. So if I showed you what's on the floor in my son's room, you'd be like, how can you even get in here? It's a mess.
That's funny.
It's good. It's good I have control in the house. Not at all. I wanted to ask you, I was just talking to Steven about this. A lot of times when we ask players in the room about the defense, they kind of use your names in conjunction with each other. It's like, well, it's Steve and Jerod, Jerod and Steve, like you're a pair. What's allowed you guys to work together like that and to be able to get the message across? Because I would imagine that there are times where you'd want to do it one way and he wants to do it another, but you've got these guys all on the same page playing the way they are.
Yeah, as far as our relationship goes, I think some people probably know this. Those years on IR, I spent a lot of time with Steve just in the dungeon. We call it the dungeon, and we would go in there and break down film and just talk ball. Hearing it from him, from a coach's son or a coach's perspective, one of the greatest head coaches sons, like hearing it from that perspective. And then I brought the on the field perspective. And, even back then, like we're talking 2013, 2014, we just had a connection. We kind of spoke the same language. Obviously, I grew up in this system, haven't played anywhere else. And I would say, with that being said, when we game plan and when we, talk to the players and things like that, it's very natural. It's very natural. And I love coaching with Steve. I love coaching, honestly, with our entire staff, even though we have one of the smallest defensive staffs in the league. But Steve and I have a very good chemistry, and hopefully that continues.
Do you, he said like he has no problem asking you questions, especially because of that sort of former player aspect. Like, you have any, like, not even issues, but like, what do you lean on him for? What are you gaining from him in that relationship?
Yeah. You have to remember, before he moved over to linebackers, he was a safety coach, and so there are definitely some questions that I always bring to the table. I should say on a daily basis, just about the passing game and what's happening in the back end. And I've learned a lot from him, and hopefully he's learned a lot from me. But we still have a long way to go. I mean, we can make this thing pretty special. As far as wins and losses going forward.
Thanks, Jerod.
Thanks, Mike.